Welcome to the MVP podcast, where we talk about anything NBA. I'm Sam Holcroft, alongside Geigh and Payton Thompson. Before we begin, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Momentum MVP, follow our Facebook page at MVP Momentum Podcast, and check us out on YouTube at MVP Momentum Podcast. So today, we're going to talk about and predict the 2023 to 2024 NBA awards. We're going to talk about MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Sixth Man, Coach of the Year, and Most Improved. So on the screen here, I have the one of the websites that I like to look at, their betting odds for those three awards. I got the top three. So we'll start off. I'm not going to disclose that. But
not sponsored by Gatorade.
Yeah. So we'll start here at the bottom of the screen with Most Improved. So Mikal Bridges is the highest betting odds for Most Improved, followed by Tyrese Maxey and Jordan Poole. Who wants to kick us off on Most Improved?
Go ahead and take us away, Gage.
Dang. If I would have known Mikal Bridges were there, I wouldn't have picked my person. But, I picked Mikal Bridges over my person, but I picked my person over Tyrese Maxey and Jordan Poole. You go ahead and unhighlight. Go ahead and unhighlight. It's go ahead. Rui Hachimura.
A Lakers guy.
Training with LeBron James. But that's the thing. I didn't even see Mikal Bridges. I would have picked Mikal Bridges. But my second choice would be Rui Hachimura because he's training for LeBron James. He's primed to get a lot of minutes. Since when he played in Washington. And I just think given that he has a solid role and he has the option to score at will, he's going to be the scorer off the bench if they choose not to start Vanderbilt. If they choose to start Vanderbilt, then maybe this is flawed. Or not, no, it wouldn't be flawed. He'd be fine still. Because I was just thinking about who's going to be able to take all the shots. Because, Rui isn't going to be – I'm assuming Rui is going to be the guy who's holding the offense down when LeBron and AD and Austin Reeves or D'Angelo Russell are off the bench, or maybe he plays with Austin Reeves. But Rui Hachimura, he is my pick to go Most Improved Player. Had a really strong playoff series, but Mikal Bridges is pretty good too.
For me, I'm gonna stay in suit of choosing someone from my team. I'm going with Jabari Smith Jr. I think with his kind of upside offensively, him also getting stronger from the core, from the legs, having a better coach, a better system. I think he should be in consideration for this award. I think last year he didn't shoot the ball particularly well. The coach, our former coach, Stephen Silas, didn't put him in the best position to be successful with how his game kind of lends itself to itself. So I think with all those things, I think his confidence is going to be up. I think he's going to be a big part of the offense. And we even saw last year towards the end, he hit a couple buzzer beaters. Yeah, I think he definitely has potential. And defensively, I think if he just gets stronger, those stats will get up. He'll make more of an impact. And then also, you got a guy like Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet that are going to be able to give him some tips and tricks. So, yeah, that's my choice.
Okay, well, you both went with someone from your team, so I guess I got to say suit and do the same thing. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to go with the guy who's actually going to win it, and that's Mikal Bridges.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't mind the Rui and Jabari because looking back at the end of the season, we could be like, what, that was a good pick. But I think Mikal is leaps ahead. If James Harden does get traded, maybe Tyrese Maxey could take it. But I think Mikal Bridges has a great opportunity because he played on a championship caliber team, for the last 3 years. And now he's the guy in Brooklyn. Look at the other guys on the two other guys and the highest odds and your two guys. Is Rui the top guy on his team? No. Is Jabari the top guy on his team? No. Is Jordan Poole the top guy on his team? Maybe. Is Tyrese Maxey the top guy on his team? No. Is Mikal Bridges the top guy on his team? So that's going to be a lot of usage that Mikal's going to get. So that's why I went with Mikal.
I would slightly disagree because I feel like if you are a most improved player, it usually goes to a team that is winning a lot of games. And I just don't think the Nets are going to be very good in a pretty front-loaded East this year. I think I don't think the Rockets are going to win that very many games either, but I think at least the incremental increase in wins from last year to this year is going to make more of a difference than the Nets being maybe a play-in team, maybe an 8 seed if they get lucky. I don't see him being a guy that's going to be able to take them into the playoffs. At least not easily. It's going to be via play-in. And then as far as Rui goes, the Lakers should be pretty good this year or decent enough to make it worth it. So, and like same with those other guys, I think Joel could be good enough. I don't really see Jordan Poole, even though I think Jordan Poole will probably have the highest usage out of all these guys that we talked about. And then also with Mikhail kind of putting up the stats he did last year at the end of the season, I just don't know if that's really going to lend itself to voters saying, like, I really see this guy being an MIP because this kind of like came out of nowhere. I feel like MIPs are kind of for guys that you didn't really know were going to have a big jump, but they ended up doing it whereas like Mikhail kind of already had that jump last year and you could kind of see it. And maybe he just has a continuation rather.
You did say that most of the time, or at least recently, that the most improved player hasn't gone to a team or has gone to a team that's been winning. Last
Mm-hmm.
year, Lauri Markkanen won it, and they were the 12th seed in the West. The year before that, John Morant got it, but I think they were in 8 seed. Or no, they were 3 seed, I think.
Who was the year? Ja?
Ja was 2 years ago.
How about the year before that?
Julius Randle when they were the 4 seed. But then the year before that was Brandon Ingram. And that was also the bubble year.
But see, then you're talking about guys
And they
that
didn't
like
make the
have made
playoffs.
they made that big jump, like you didn't really see it coming. Like so you talked about last year, what was the name you said again? Lauri Markkanen. When Lauri Markkanen got traded to the
Yeah.
Jazz, no one thought he was going to be an all-star, that it kind of just came out of nowhere. Ja Morant, sort of the same thing, but kind of different. Whereas like he was more of a young player that was coming off like a good rookie campaign, but no one really saw him like taking that huge second year jump. And I still think even like that year, I think there was still a little bit of controversy whether he should have won it or I don't remember who the other guy was, but he was more of that guy that you didn't really see it coming. So it's like maybe they don't have to both be qualifiers, but maybe one or the other.
Yeah. So then we'll move on to Coach of the Year. I'll go first with this. So I have Adrian Griffin winning it. I think that the Bucks, with how they had that first round exit, firing Budenholzer and Adrian Griffin taking this team, I think the addition of Dame Lillard, if they are the number 1 team in the East, it's hard to not give it to anyone else. Even though they were the 1 seed last year, this is a team that just fell apart in the playoffs. Yes, Giannis did miss like 2 out of the 5 games in that series against the Heat, but they didn't play well in that series regardless. So I think that Adrian Griffin, if they are the best team in the East, then this is his award.
Yeah, you want to go?
Okay.
Go ahead, Gage.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Go ahead and you go ahead and show. Go ahead.
Yeah.
All right. Do we know who Will Hardy is? Do I need to explain who this is?
Well,
Go
to the
ahead and
viewers,
explain
maybe.
it. He is the coach of the Utah Jazz. I believe that with the addition with John Collins and the upgrades that they've gotten, that their players are slowly progressing, I think the Utah Jazz are going to surprise a lot of people. I think they're going to find their identity, and I think Will Hardy will get a lot of praise this year. Towards the end of the season, I think the Utah Jazz were kind of like, iffy tanking, but you did see promise from a lot of their players, like Jordan Clarkson, who's coming back. I forgot his last name, center, rookie center who almost
Uh,
basically Kessler.
Walker
Yeah,
Kessler.
Kessler showed a lot of promise. And the main point is that they kept their core. They still have, I think, Kelly Olynyk's coming back as well.
Yeah.
Adding John Collins and
Taylor
and
Hendricks.
Taylor Hendricks, and I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. And so then with that, if it's enough wins, I think Will Hardy might get Coach of the Year just because of just everything seems to be going right for Utah. If they decide to tank, which I don't know what their incentives are, I'd be disappointed. But I think they already have a lot of firepower to actually, with the right coach, which I think is Will Hardy, I think they would have the potential to make the playoffs, and that's pretty crazy. But playoffs as like a ninth seed or 10th seed heading into like the play-in. I see them as like a scary play in just defense alone. But yeah.
So you're not predicting like a 4, 5, 6 kind of seed?
No. I'm predicting a team that everyone falls. But Utah historically always kind of hangs around. Like how many? I feel like Utah like made in comparison to like the Spurs, Lakers of like an amount of like playoff appearances. I have a feeling in the last like 15 years, Utah is like hanging around in there somewhere. That's just the vibe I'm getting. Like when I think they're downhill year, and I might want to fact check myself, but in their last downhill year was this year. But then the years before that, I feel like they were on a streak. I mean, because you had Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, and you just kind of had a lot of players. Even before that, I feel like they were always making the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they're like one of those teams that, fortunately or unfortunately, kind of how you see it, they always are like mediocre to. I mean, when they had Donovan and Rudy at their peak, they were like I wouldn't say contender, but they were a very competitive team in the West. And then before that, they had Jerome Williams, and before or after that, I guess I kind of skipped a whole period. They had Gordon Hayward. So yeah, like they've always kind of been a decent little team that you don't really want to play against. But you mentioned that you have them as like a 9 seed, 10 seed kind of playing team. So like you have them. Who do you have them beating out? I mean, I'm sure you have them beating out like the Spurs. I'm assuming you have them beating out the Rockets then. The Blazers, I'm guessing. Who are the other two
Yes,
teams you have them beating out?
I haven't beaten out the. I don't think the Dallas Mavericks are going to do well.
Oh wow. You
Yeah,
have them beating out the Mavericks.
I don't think the Mavericks, unless they make any major trades that completely throws my prediction away, then I don't think the Mavericks are gonna compete. They didn't make any, to my knowledge, they didn't make any like major moves that fixed any of the problems they had, and they
Uh-huh.
just re-signed Kyrie to a max because why not? You kind of had to.
Imagine having Kyrie and Luka and missing the playoffs
It happened
for,
last
for
year.
the second
Again.
year straight. That'd be crazy. Okay, then what's the other team that you have being under them, or at least next to them?
Let me go ahead and look. Western Conference. Let's see.
Because the only other team that I would maybe put below them or next to them, assuming that there isn't injuries, or maybe that's a part of your estimation, is the Pelicans.
It would be either Pelicans or OKC.
Or
But I think
OKC.
OKC is
Yeah,
going to do better.
I think so too.
So I
Yeah,
have them sitting around 11, and they might be able to steal a 10 from either OKC or the Timberwolves. But I don't even think the Timberwolves. Probably the Pelicans due to injury or Zion not playing or something weird.
gotcha. Okay,
I'd say more likely
interesting.
the Pelicans.
Okay, interesting. For
Yeah.
my coach of the year, I have Rick Carlisle for the Indiana Pacers. I think that Rick Carlisle has always kind of shown to be a pretty solid coach in the NBA. I think through the years, he's kind of had his feuds with a couple stars, and that kind of muddies things up a little bit for him as far as like this selection. But I do think he's a very good or very smart X's and O's coach. I think he's got his point guard of the future in Tyrese. I think keeping Miles Turner, and having the young crew they have with Benedict Mathurin, whatever they get back for Buddy Hield because he requested that trade. I think the Pacers are gonna do a lot better than people think this year. I have them making the playoffs, but they're gonna be that 6, 7 seed around there, which for Coach of the Year probably doesn't typically happen very often. But I just see them being a very very competitive team, kind of like that year they had Victor Oladipo and kind of just some random pieces around him. I don't think a lot of people expected that team to be very good, but I think Tyrese is going to take another marginal jump this year. Potentially be an All NBA player, and an All Star. So yeah, I have some pretty decent expectations for this team.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm willing. Also, I was just thinking, I'm willing to make it. I think I'm actually pretty confident that Utah will surprise people. I think we're all sleeping on Utah,
Yeah.
but I think your choices are more obvious.
I don't know
But
about
I
my
feel like
choice. I think his choice is.
Yeah.
Sam's choice.
My thing is that I just don't think that whatever team the Jazz play, I don't think they're gonna have the best player on the court, which I think in the NBA, I think that matters. I think maybe 2 or 3 teams they'll have the best player. I think Laurie is pretty good, but I
But
don't think he's.
do we remember that streak that the Utah Jazz went? Utah Jazz were number 1 seed at one point in the season, and then they decided, okay, let's turn this down a bit. We are not ready to compete. Let's get out the playoffs. Do you remember that? They were number 1 seed for like 3 weeks. I could have sworn
Yeah.
they weren't they number 1 seed?
They were,
Yeah,
they
from
were solid
from week 2 to like week 4, and then they started losing.
for about 10 games. Yeah.
Still.
No, yeah,
It's the Orlando
impressive.
Magic effect,
I
remember?
I like Will Hardy as a coach.
It was
He
the
comes
Orlando
from the
Magic
Popovich
effect.
tree, so I mean, I like the choice. I think he's a good coach. And him and Ime Udoka have some ties too. So I like him as a coach. I just think that the West is a little bit stronger this year as younger teams get better. I think if anything, there's going to be a couple older teams that regress a little bit that are still going to be able to beat up on this team because they just don't have the makings of a consistent winning team. I think defensively they're going to be pretty good. I just don't see them being better than like the Mavericks. I think the Rockets, Spurs, Blazers could be realistic, but that still puts them outside of the playoffs. And if you're not in the playoffs or in the play-in barely, I think it's really hard to make a what do you call it? Make your coach of the year vote, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of the way I see that. But
Yep.
let me start us off with six man of the year. So I got Bobby Portis. I think that obviously, with how good the Bucks are going to be, and I guess this is kind of like piggybacking off of your basically like what you were saying, Sam, about how good the Bucks are going to be with this year with Damian Lillard. With how good they are, and I think Bobby Portis is a very good impact defensive player, very big defensive impact player. And him with obviously Giannis is going to be banged up a couple of times throughout the season. I think Brook Lopez getting up there in age is going to maybe play a little bit less minutes, but I don't think Bobby Portis is going to be a starter or anything like that. And I think he's a very big energy guy, but then winning a lot of games and having kind of all that media attention on them with Damian Lillard, I think is a pretty good indicator that he has a good shot at winning this award.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I like Bobby Portis would be my second pick. I'll give you that. I think he was pretty good, but
So who's the first then?
go ahead and open. Go ahead. Check. Russell Westbrook. And the reason for that is just because he's been proven. Yeah, we all say Russell Westbrook, fell off. But there's one thing Russell Westbrook did well, and it's dominate against the second team stringers against all the other teams. It doesn't matter how far you fall off. You're a former MVP. You have the record for triple doubles. He has that, right? I'm pretty sure.
I think so.
Yeah, he has a record for triple doubles. He's going to be a spark off the bench easily. And considering how teams have learned to use him, it's that you have nobody on the court besides Russell Westbrook. You can't play him with people who need shooters, like with how Lakers, had Russ and they had tried to make it work with shuffling around LeBron and Anthony Davis. LeBron and Anthony Davis at that point were never sharing the court with Russell Westbrook. They weren't. But what does that do for Russell Westbrook? He gets to eat with some sort of center. Who do they have there? Zubac, right? Zubac is a great offensive center. They're gonna do some great stuff, and that's why I think Russell Westbrook is just a shoo-in to make the Sixth Man of the Year, and he's accepting of it. So
yeah, and I feel like that's something that he wasn't really accepting of. Even when he went and played with James Harden, like he had to kind of because the previous 2 years, I believe it was in OKC, he was the guy. Or I guess it was 3 years. The previous 3 years, he was the guy. Paul George kind of was taking the seat back when he was there for those 2 years. He goes and joins James Harden, who's coming off of a MVP from the 2 years prior. And James Harden needs that ball. Russ wasn't willing to adapt his role. He went to Washington, and I feel like, Beal needs the ball. And I feel like Russ wasn't adapting to his role there. Goes to the Lakers. That was what was his role. He thought his role was one thing, the stars thought his role was another thing, and the front office thought his role was something. And it just never lined up. But I think he's finally accepting his role with the Clippers. And, that mentality of him being the guy in the past, helped him out because he looked good. The last time we saw Russell Westbrook play, he looked good with the Clippers. It was a really rough start. They started off 0-6 when he was there. He figured it out. He's like, okay, this is my role. This is what I have to do. Kawhi gets hurt in the postseason. He's not playing. Paul George was never playing. Russ had to step up. What did Russ do? He won game 1 against the Phoenix Suns. So I don't mind that.
He can do it. I think he's shown that he can dominate against the second. If there's one player who can dominate against other teams' benches, it's Russell Westbrook. He's handedly the best player to come off the bench because one, he could run an offense altogether. He could be a starter somewhere, but you'd have to run through him, and you just won't win enough games like that. But if you have him running your entire second unit, that is your offense there. It's an entirely new offense that the other team has to deal with. So Russell Westbrook over Bobby Portis.
So I do like the fact that you are picking a Clipper here. And, there was a history. In 2020, Montrezl Harrell won the Sixth Man of the Year with the Clippers. Who finished second? Lou Williams, also a Los Angeles Clipper. So as much as I love to say that you're right with Russell Westbrook, I think Russ is probably going to be that starting point guard at some point. So the sixth man has to go to the next best guy on that bench for the Clippers, and that's going to be Norman Powell. So I just feel like, with a lot of what you said, Norman Powell, he's been a starter for a good chunk of his career. And I think that he can dominate those second stringers just like Russ can. So basically a lot of your same kind of conversation points for Russ, I feel like can kind of fit for Norman to an extent.
Yeah, because Norman will be that spark plug off the bench. Norman can plug and play whatever offense you put him on. He's been shown to score wherever team you put him. So I can see him being the sixth man just off of just the fact that he should be a starting role player somewhere around the league anyways. So it's just a starting role player on the bench. Just because the players that you would be starting over, Norman Powell could obviously start over 50% of the teams in the league. But you're playing behind Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Tough luck.
Yeah.
Who's the starters for the Clippers?
Zubac at the 5. I still think
it's probably Marcus Morris.
Yeah, let me click on it. Let me see what ESPN's telling me. So if this is wrong, this isn't me. This is ESPN.
I'm just asking for projected starters. not asking for like an actual answer, just kind of like what you guys think.
So Zubac, day one center, Kawhi and PG, obviously. And then it's either probably Batum or Marcus Morris at that 4. And then Russell Westbrook at that 1. They could maybe put Norman Powell there, but I don't think he's much as good as a ball distributor. And then they also have Terrence Mann, which I don't trust starting over Russ necessarily.
We'll see what
So
they do.
one of you guys are automatically going to be wrong.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Unless if Terrence Mann starts and then then we'll find out.
Do we think Terrence Mann is ready? Or they trade for Harden?
Yeah, I was going to say, unless they trade for Harden.
And then I'm a shoo-in, right?
No, well, I guess, Gage, what if both of our guys get traded in that trade? And then they're both starters over in Philly.
Oh, well.
Oh, well.
I don't know.
And then Bobby Portis is gonna be a shoe-in.
They trade a 3-team trade with Milwaukee, and Bobby Portis has to go, and he goes
go somewhere to start.
Yeah, he has to go to I don't know, something silly like Nets. He gets traded to the Nets somehow. Harden back to the Nets.
Yeah. All right. So who wants to go first for Rookie of the Year then?
You have to, because we're going to snake. It's a snake.
Yeah,
it's the snake draft.
we're going to snake here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't make the rules.
Okay, whatever. So I'm going to go with Chet Holmgren.
Stop.
Holmgren.
Sam.
Okay.
I also heavily disagree.
Bro.
Okay. So
I thought this was going to be a quick section. I was like, okay, we're going to move on.
Okay. I
Why?
understand you're gonna take 5 seconds to say your guy because
he's
it's
the
Ben
American
Simmons.
version of the real Rookie of the Year. That's all he is. I told you that. He's the American version.
No, he's a poor man's version.
What's gonna happen when Victor only plays 40-some games? Can we still give the award to him?
That man is Pepsi. That man is Pepsi to the Coca-Cola version.
Hey, Pepsi's better than Coke. Come on.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so.
But anyways, go ahead.
I'm kind of curious to what you guys think, but I really think that.
One more. He's the Marshmallow Mateys to my Lucky Charms Rookie of the Year. Okay, I'm done.
He's the Powerade to the Gatorade.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
So
I like Chet.
It sounds like you don't.
No, I do.
But, so here's the thing about Chet. He has Shai, who was an all-NBA first-team guard on his team, to help him get back up to speed, get to the speed where he should have been last year and further. This team was a team that could have maybe made the playoffs if he would have played. How much of a difference would he have made as a rookie? I don't know. You also have Josh Giddey, who is an up-and-comer. And you have a bunch of other young guys. Now, this team is young, but at the same time, I feel like Chet, had a lot of hype last year. He could still be good, and I just don't think that Victor is going to play enough games in order to take this award by storm. That's why John Morant won Rookie of the Year, and Zion did not.
Okay,
in 19.
What makes you think Chet will play enough games? The man's coming off an injury, Sam. The man is playing with 4 other people who need the ball as well, who need to develop at the same time.
He's also beefed up 25 pounds.
Exactly, but what makes you think that they're going to say, all right, Chet? No, they have to ease the guy in like they always do. You know that better more than I do. Like, you know that as well as I do. Like, halfway through the season, we'll finally actually get to see Chet. Chet is honestly, like, even in fantasy basketball, he might be a do not draft kind of player just because how are they going to ease him back in? He spent a whole year out. You don't want to just toss him in and get torn to pieces again. Heck, he got injured in a Pro-Am league. He didn't even play in the NBA and get injured. He got injured in a Pro-Am league. He got injured against a guy working a 9-to-5, Sam. Like,
I think it was a non-contact. So like that can happen to anyone.
It was LeBron.
It was LeBron. He got injured by LeBron in a Pro-Am league, and LeBron's at 70%. Come on, they have to ease him in. They have to. They have to be careful with the guy.
Okay, so let me give my case and why I don't think it's going to be Chet. I think it's for the exact reason that you said, Sam. It's just the opposite. I think there's just a little bit too many mouths to feed on this offense. I don't really see him as a guy that's going to be able to get enough offensive touches to have the offensive stats to kind of pop out. Whereas there's going to be guys like, I mean, you'll see the way that I'm explaining it. I'm sure you guys can guess who mine is. It's different than your guys's, but he's not going to have the same offensive usage and stats as some of the other guys that are going to have a chance to win the award. So I just think there's a little bit too many mouths to feed on this offense. I think maybe year 2, year 3, he can get a little bit more usage once he kind of earns the trust and earns, the trust of his teammates and coaches, and then also trust in his body. But yeah, I mean, I do like that you said that Shai and Giddey are going to be able to help him. They will be able to help him, but both those guys, I think, especially Shai, is going to be taking a lot of those shots, and I think Jalen Williams is going to be taking a lot of those shots as well. So, but defensively, I like his upside. I like where he can be at, but he is it's gonna take time to put on weight for him as well.
All right. So do you want to say who yours is, PT?
Yeah, mine's Scoot Henderson. I think with how much he's going to handle the ball, with his current frame that he has, I think he has a very, very good chance to win it. I don't see them as a team that's going to win a whole lot of games, but as far as this award goes, I don't really think that matters. Obviously, it helps, but I don't think it's going to matter too much. But I see him as a really high usage guy, a guy that's going to be super explosive, very well built, smart guy, good playmaker. Obviously, adding Ayton is going to help him defensively and offensively. And then having Shaden Sharp and also Simons to share the backcourt with, I think is going to matter a lot as well. So I got Scoot Henderson.
Yeah, it came down to these three for me. I don't just with Brandon Miller, I just wasn't really thinking like, it's still LaMelo's team, but how many games is LaMelo going to play? I just don't know with Brandon Miller. That's a question mark for me. And then Victor, I just don't think that he's going to play enough games. I think he's going to get. I don't even know if he's going to play 50 games.
But why would you say that and not think that about Chet?
Because he's beefed up. Victor gets bodied by a 6'4", 260-pound kid that went undrafted. Not even undrafted. He had to walk on at college in a international game.
Okay, I'll take the highly touted best number 1 draft pick in the last decade.
So basically, you're copping out for.
I'm not copping out. I'm taking the most likely one, and that's Victor Wembanyama. We haven't the most hyped rookie. The most hyped rookie since LeBron James. I'll take. He's my rookie of the year. He's my rookie of the year.
Okay,
it's that simple.
So what happens when he only plays 45 games?
He'll probably still win rookie of the year.
Yikes. Okay.
That's how good he's gonna be.
Before we move on to my DPOY, you guys didn't give me one reason why Scoot can't win it.
Scoot can't win it because
will he have the keys to the kingdom right away?
He has to share those keys. I mean, Wemby gets to play with Pop. That's the point. Wemby gets to play with Pop. He developed Tim Duncan, probably best power forward of all time. And now Wemby maybe can play a little bit of center and power forward. He could do a little bit both because Wemby can shoot the 3. It's a little scratchy, but he can shoot the 3. He can stretch. He can be a stretch 4. You can use him however. With Scoot, yeah, because they still have Simons there, right? They still have Simons.
Yeah, it's going to be him and Simons as the starters.
Yeah, so it's going to be Scoot and Simons and.
But you don't think Victor's going to have to share the ball with Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, those kind of guys?
No. They're all defensive players.
It's not going to happen?
No, Keldon Johnson's there to play some defense.
Keldon Johnson's there to score points.
No,
Give me a
not with
break.
Victor there. Not with Victor there.
Victor's not, bro. I promise you, Victor's not going to be the guy
Victor's
you
about
can
to be
run your
that guy.
offense. No, he's not going to be the guy you that
He's gonna be
year
that guy.
one you run your offense through all game. That if you run him like that, he will get hurt in 30 games or less.
No,
If
That's
you
what
try
I'm
to run your
saying.
whole offense
That's
through
he's
what
him.
gonna
I'm
be that
saying.
guy.
No way.
He
No
has
chance.
the keys already. He has the keys to every the city already. There's so much hype behind this guy.
All I know is
and you're-
that number one pick don't mean anything until you start playing NBA players. That's kind of how I feel about Chet too, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, but I also, and like, it kind of goes back to my team aspect to help him get up to speed. He's been around this team for a year. So that team chemistry is already there. Playing chemistry, a little bit more
TBD.
than, yeah. But, I just feel like, as a good opportunity. But all I'm going to say about the rookie of the year, I'm glad no one said Ben Simmons. Because I know that, Gage, you were thinking that.
I was thinking, well, Chet's kind of like a Ben Simmons situation, but even more worse because it was a pro-am team, so whatever.
When you guys go ahead on DPOY, I'm gonna handle something really quick. I'll be right back.
Okay. So I'll start with my defensive player of the year, and I got the first one that we've had as a back-to-back. I'm going Jaren Jackson Jr. He was just a beast down low last year, and I know you had him in fantasy. I know.
Tell Payton how you guys just let me pick up Brooke Lopez and Jaren Jackson Jr. off the free agency, and then I
did
win the
too.
league.
No,
you
drafted one of them.
I didn't draft
Yeah, Brooke
either. I
Lopez.
picked them up. I just picked them up.
Whatever.
I didn't draft either. I picked up Jaren Jackson and I picked up Brooke Lopez, and I won the league in blocks.
But in fairness, though, Triple J wasn't supposed to come back till like December or January, and he ended up coming back in like November.
I guess, yeah, that is.
So
well, that's also because 2 years ago, he was supposed to come back in 3 weeks, and it ended up being 3 months, and then he said, we're just gonna shut him down the rest of the season. So
yeah, the Grizzlies medical staff are weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just like with everything,
Yeah,
like Ja too. But anyways, go ahead.
But I also think that the acquisition of Marcus Smart's really going to help because their perimeter defense isn't necessarily like the best. At least I didn't feel like it was last year. So I feel like having that Marcus Smart defensive presence is going to force guys to drive more. And who do you have down there? Jaren Jackson Jr. He'll get some more production this year, in my opinion.
He'll just swat after everything again. That's literally what he did.
Yep.
I feel like Brooke Lopez was a little bit more skillful in like the blocks he chose to defend, but Jaren Jackson Jr. just went over everything, and to the point where there was controversy about like the box score being manipulated because of him. But really, it's just they looked at it and it's like he really does go after everything, and he's willing to get dunked on.
He averaged 4.5 like blocks at home and averaged like 1.2 on the road.
Silly
or something silly like that.
Yeah, real goofy.
So who do you have as DPOY, Gage?
Go ahead.
Oh. No, what?
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. With the addition of Jackson Hayes, Anthony Davis can return back into the sort of roamer defender that he is, where he can roam the paint and he can. The Lakers do play an interesting kind of defense when you let Anthony Davis roam and play help D. Yeah, he'll stick on the floor, but he's quick enough. He's quick enough to recover, and that's what makes him a great defensive player. Now that you have an actual center in Jackson Hayes, which you can swap off between Jackson Hayes or whoever they end up getting for that final. I think they have one more slot. Or Christian Wood, I guess. Christian Wood's not normally a defender.
I was gonna say good luck.
Good luck with that. But the fact that if you have a good enough defensive team, you can let Anthony Davis just roam, and it's just I guarantee you, his defensive stats will go way up this year. He has help. He doesn't have to be the only guy playing defense this year. Why? Because Jared Vanderbilt is there. He's improving. They have I think they have Prince now. He's a decent defender. They just have defenders who can help Anthony Davis, and now he doesn't have to just kill himself every night. So Anthony Davis, it'll be easy.
Over under 60 games for him.
Under. It's always the under.
I would say over, because I think it was over last year, right?
Mm-mm.
No.
What did he play last year?
56.
56?
Last time he played 60 games was 2017-2018 season.
Was that most of the games he played? Most of the games he didn't play was towards the beginning of the season, right? When he got hurt, and then he went on a. And then a bulk of his games he played towards this. Well, he played every game in the playoffs, and then he played most games towards the end of the season.
Or sorry, last time he played 60 was in 2019, and then that was 62. Last time he played 70 or more, or I guess 62 or more was 2017-2018. I think if he can stay healthy, I like your choice. He just has to stay healthy is the only thing.
Has to.
I think he will.
I think he has potential too.
The thing about Anthony, I think the thing about Anthony Davis, I'm more worried about LeBron, but with Anthony Davis, it's always been kind of freak accidents, sort of like Kevin Durant. And so, I mean, yeah, he has some back problems, but I think the Lakers can at least give him some rest. You don't have to play 40 minutes a game or something stupid.
So my only thing with this is you're telling me you'd rather start Jackson Hayes to get Anthony Davis out of the 5 than start a Jared Vanderbilt or a Rui Hachimura.
It depends on the matchup, you know. If I'm playing the Denver Nuggets, I'm starting Jackson Hayes at the 5. Easy. I don't want to put Anthony Davis on Jokic because Anthony Davis excels on double teaming Jokic when Jokic gets too close to the paint. And Anthony Davis is good at even if Jokic swings it out, and Anthony Davis can recover pretty quick. Now,
so go ahead.
When during the Denver series, Anthony Davis was successful when the Lakers were able to do that, when they were able to have Hachimura play some defense on Jokic. Why do you think that happened? Just so Anthony Davis can roam. And I think Jackson Hayes can be that Dwight Howard that the Lakers desperately needed back in 2020. So yeah. I'd rather it depends on the time. There'll be times where Anthony Davis can just match up against whoever the center is and it'll be fine. But for larger centers like Rudy Gobert and Joel Embiid and those kind of guys, just put Anthony Davis at the 4 and let him like play a lot of help D.
Okay. All right. Well, my selection is going to be Evan Mobley. I think Mobley is going to be one of the best young defensive bigs in the league for a long time. I think he kind of knew how close he was last year to winning it, and I think him getting better, putting on a little bit more weight, getting a little bit smarter, but also having that other defensive guy, Jared Allen, next to him, I think is going to mean a lot to him in his progression. And then J.B. Bickerstaff is one of the better underrated coaches, in my opinion, in the league. And so, that being said, I think he has a good chance to win it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with Evan Mobley either. I feel like he was up there. I think he finished second or third.
Yeah.
I
think second.
Yeah. And he was right up there with Jaren Jackson Jr. too. So like I could see him progressing even more and potentially winning that as well.
I was
third.
I was sorry. I was just thinking about Anthony Davis though. Like Anthony Davis was leading in Defensive Player of the Year votes until he got hurt last year.
Well, yeah,
I don't think that's the thing. Stat tracker.
No. He was definitely like leading in Defensive Player of the Year. Like he was the kind of projected Defensive Player of the Year until he got hurt. I think that's the story what happened last year. But Evan Mobley,
I feel like I with AD specifically, and this is kind of where I'll end it. I feel like if he's healthy, he's a top 7 player in the league. He's a top 5 defender, but he's got to stay healthy.
Yeah, he's going to be up for Defensive Player of the Year every year. I mean, back in I think was it 2020? When did he win it? I think it was the 2019 to 2020 season he won. Let me look it up real fast. But sorry for the dramatic pause. Okay, I guess he didn't win it. But I think he was up there with Giannis in 2020. But Giannis ended up winning.
Yeah, I think Anthony Davis was throwing up historical numbers before he got hurt. I don't remember what those numbers were exactly, but he was doing something silly because he was scoring like 50-point games, like 5 blocks and like 20 rebounds, something ridiculous, some sort of thing. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I think Evan Mobley's okay. I think Evan Mobley has a lot more things to worry about than being Defensive Player of the Year, especially when you have such a defensive-minded team. I think he can relax a little bit on trying to be the guy, the defensive stopper when you're playing against people like when you're playing with Garland and Jarrett. I'd obviously argue that Jarrett could be a better defensive player than him in some games, but I think Evan Mobley's focus this year should be his offensive scoring, specifically his 3-point shooting. That's just me.
With Donovan Mitchell and Garland on the roster?
Yeah.
I feel like specifically for the
floor.
playoffs, maybe. Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. But if he's not focused on defense, I feel like that's that's a big part of their defense.
I mean, he'll be defensively great, because the Cavs are the best perimeter defensive team in the NBA. But I do think that when we're trying to strive for the Defensive Player of the Year, I think Evan Mobley will have a little bit more of his hands filled if he gets that 3-point shot on offense. I think, I don't know. I mean, if Evan Mobley could be Defensive Player of the Year as well as get his shots up and knock down threes at an impressive clip, the guy would be an all-star.
He's like a top 15 player in the league, yeah.
Yeah, if you could do that, and I don't think he's that.
I don't think so either, but he doesn't need to be if he's DPOY.
Yeah.
But
true.
Going on to MVP, I do have Giannis Antetokounmpo taking back the reins to have his third. I mean, I don't really think I have to explain too much about it. He's going to be the best player on the best team in the East, so that's really it. That's all I got, and he's done it twice already.
Okay. I don't disagree with Giannis because I was thinking about putting him up there, but I'll save my guy for a second. But Gage, go ahead.
Yeah, I got Jason Tatum as my MVP, and I'm doing this because I'm going against the voter fatigue thing. Now, do I think Jason Tatum is going to be the best player in the league? No. But do I think that the voter fatigue will make him the best player of the league? Yes. I think it's going to be Jason Tatum, even when he has these players who are kind of beat stars. I think the fact that he'll shine out most of them, and I think people are going to be biased to seeing, because Jason Tatum, I mean, the Celtics have so many weapons that Jason Tatum will be targeted still, but you won't be able to double team the guy as easy as previous before with Porzingis and Drew. You have a lot more weapons. Yeah, you sacrifice some defense with Marcus Smart, but I think with Brown, and I think Jason Tatum's going to have a lot of great shots this year, and it's just going to be too easy, and voter fatigue, and Jason Tatum's going to be MVP.
That was my second choice. I agree with everything you said pretty much, especially the voters fatigue and that he hasn't won one before.
Yeah, and so my biggest thing with the Celtics is, I mean, and it's obviously it happens, best player on the best team, but I feel like with Boston, I feel like there might just be a little too many mouths to feed, just a little bit. But I mean, at the same time, Jason Tatum, at times has played like a top 5 player in the league, if not even higher. So I think that it could definitely work out. we'll see how good this Boston team rebounds after their series loss to the Heat and losing Marcus Smart, but gaining Drew Holiday, gaining Porzingis.
It's not even the same team anymore.
True.
It's a completely different team.
Yeah. So my MVP, and I don't think you guys will probably like it, but I do have some good reasoning. It is Kevin Durant. So Kevin Durant joined the Golden State Warriors when he was arguably top 3 player in the league, if not top 1 or 2. Joins the Warriors. What do they do that first year? Win an NBA championship. Year 2, win an NBA championship. Year 3, would have won an NBA championship if he didn't hurt his Achilles. He goes and teams up with the Brooklyn Nets where he's out for an entire year. And then first year of him playing, what happens? They trade for James Harden. They're going to the finals, right? They're going to go win a championship. Doesn't happen. The next year, the fallout with James Harden. And they get booted in the first round, I believe. And then last year, Brooklyn is not good. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant can't stay healthy. They both get traded away. And it just didn't work out. And the Suns, they just ran at the Nuggets at the wrong time. If this doesn't work this year, people are going to start thinking Kevin Durant can't win anywhere else. So I think that this is his year to come out and shine. And just like, the question marks with Anthony Davis playing games, it's there for Kevin Durant too. But I think that this might be the year that Kevin Durant plays a decent amount of games. He hasn't played over 60 games. I can even bump that down to 56. He hasn't played more than 56 games since that 2019 season, right before he tore his Achilles in the playoffs against the Rockets. I think it was the Rockets.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been 5 seasons since he's played that many games. I think that this is the year that Kevin Durant can finally shut those haters up and say, I'm still here, which no one's ever questioned that. But the winning hasn't been there. They haven't been to a conference finals since that 2019 season that he was with the Warriors.
I mean, for me, personally, I think you just talked me into disagreeing with your pick, with everything you said. I like your train of thought, but I feel like everything that you listed off there of him not being healthy, getting traded to a couple different places, or I guess just Phoenix really, but being on 2 different teams since then, I just don't know if I can really see it at his age.
And you're the type of person that he's going to try to prove wrong.
Indeed.
So, Gage, what do you think?
Durant. I like Kevin Durant.
About MVP, I think Kevin Durant's job isn't to get MVP numbers. I think Kevin Durant's job is to be Kevin Durant on that Suns team. I think what we saw of Kevin Durant and Devin Booker was that you ever seen that one thing about like this? There's this giant like guy with a sword, and he's like a thing, and he's giving the guy little swords and tips, and he's like defending all these arrows in the back. That's Kevin Durant's job to Devin Booker. He is in charge of getting the number 1 defense on him, and Devin Booker's in charge of getting the MVP stats. And so,
where does Bradley Beal fall?
Bradley Beal, I don't know.
He can do whatever he wants.
That's whatever. He can just do whatever he wants over there.
Yeah.
So that's what I feel that Kevin Durant's job is. And unless people get MVP votes for doing that for your teammates, he's not going to get MVP. That's how I feel.
Okay. Yeah. And, my kind of hypothesis is, the Suns could be one of those best teams in the West. But I mean, we've seen two super teams form before, and both of them fall short of making even the conference finals in the same year. But if the Suns are the 1 seed in the West and Kevin Durant plays at least 65 games, I think is how many you need to play in order to win, one of those three guys should be up for MVP, realistically. So I just feel like that could be Kevin Durant. He's due for a healthy season. And so is Anthony Davis.
That I can agree with. That's about it, though.
Yeah. So that's our predictions for the NBA awards this season. Something interesting, even more than, getting all this, there's 36 opportunities, or I guess less than that. But we didn't double up on anything. I think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that is true. Without knowing each other's answers beforehand.
Yeah, but the thing is I had to go off the grid with Victor or Scoot for the Rookie of the Year, and I got blasted for it. So you guys are welcome for that. That's cool. It's a cool stat, but I had to take the heat. So
you should have picked Brandon Miller.
The picture.
I don't trust that.
I don't either.
So, all right. So, is there any of these predictions? This is the last thing I'll ask. Is there any of your predictions that you are locking in? Like, this is for sure. The Geigh guarantee that Grady Dick is going, or no, who was it?
Grady Dick, bro.
No, what was it? No,
Grady
it was
Dick MVP.
It was the Lakers to who? I don't know, but you guaranteed it during our first round mock draft. You guaranteed it, and it didn't happen. So, are you locking in any of these that it's gonna happen?
Victor.
Okay.
I'll lock in Mobley.
Yeah. Mobley as DP. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll lock in
Kevin Durant.
kind of want to, but like if I had to lock in one, it's probably Norman Powell, 6-man. That's out of the 6 that I have.
Thought it'd be Mikal Bridges.
I don't think you can lock in anything Sam says. Not gonna lie. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Sam.
maybe not.
Yeah, Sam
you
doesn't
didn't
get
pick
a
any
lock.
obvious. I mean, you picked maybe Jaren. Jaren probably be your lock in. You didn't pick any obvious picks.
I didn't want to pick the same category that you guys did. Otherwise, I was gonna do Chet.
Yeah.
But once again, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Momentum MVP. Follow our Facebook page at MVP Momentum Podcast, and check us out on YouTube at MVP Momentum Podcast. I've been Sam Holcroft.
Geigh Zollicoffer.
I've been Payton Thompson.
Thanks for listening.